You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Hello and welcome to T Radio V, the Street Angel Show. And in case you are joining us for the first time, I am Mandelyn Reese. I'm known as the LA Street Angel. I wear wings of various sizes with all different posters on them. We got, these are a few that I always like to show because they're the most simple, but trying to get people reconnected, nice, kind, accepting, anti-bullying, tolerant of each other. So in case you see me running around, that's what I'm doing. So the purpose of this show that I have here at T Radio V is to help others and enlighten, inspire, bring in more, spirituality and just good advice and stuff like that for everyday living, I guess. And today's topic, we're going to be talking about healing from past abuses and traumas and finding more confidence and self-worth with yourself. And we have some very special guests who can add their love and light and stories and advice and stuff like that for healing and transformation after going through difficult things in your life. And I wanted to start kind of with a little bit about my own. So I haven't really talked much about this public, but I did have some abuse when I was younger, mainly with my dad. It was like mental, emotional, a little bit physical, but not too much, luckily. But it took me a long time to heal and move on from that. And so it definitely affected me and kind of gave me daddy issues. And, I ended up attracting some men who were kind of dominant and controlling and put me down and stuff like that. And so it's like I had to learn to empower and strengthen myself. And so by sharing our stories, we're hoping that it will help you also heal and empower yourself. So I have a few books and tools that I want to share with everybody that have helped me. And also, I guess I should introduce my guests really quick because it would help. I have Erica Briones. Do you go by Erica or Erica Susanna? Erica. Mm-hmm. Okay, so she's going to be sharing her story, and make sure you talk kind of closer to the mic. And so she's got some stuff that she went through and she's going to share. And I think, with her being brave and sharing her story helps me, be brave and share my stuff. And then over here we have Koa Wood, and he is really awesome at doing healing and this kind of stuff and giving advice. He's done some healing work on me, which was definitely profound and helped me open up some of my chakras and stuff like that. We'll get more into that a little later about the kind of stuff that you do. How are you doing today?
Doing very good. Thanks for having us here.
Of course. So do y'all want to say anything about, the topic right now?
I believe there is such a power and truth serum and medicine within storytelling. I recently was listening to Lisa Nichols, who is an incredible storyteller, and it's amazing how when you're connected to other people's stories, you literally feel like you breathe more, you feel more united, and it humbles you to the core. And I love your message, and I want to say thank you so much for what you're doing today.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I always need the encouragement and support. So do you want to say anything about the topic?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you again. It takes a lot of courage to get up in public and tell people about some of the private things from your past. And you're right, by setting the example of standing up and talking about it, you really get a chance to let other people get the courage to do it as well. So I'm just really honored to be here. Thank you both.
Yes. So, if you're watching this and you've been through some stuff, you're definitely not alone. A lot of people go through some pretty terrible crap in their life. And so I know it sounds weird, but sometimes I realize some people have gone through 100 times worse stuff than I've gone through, and somehow they're pulling through it and they're still alive and they're moving on. And, so it's like you can just find that inner will, that inner strength, the willpower, and learning to self-love and have confidence in yourself. And that's really the best thing you can do with self-healing is really self-love and acceptance. Because I think when other people have put you down or done things to you that really affected how you feel about yourself and life, it can be a struggle to just like get back to a place of centeredness and feeling good about yourself and your life. So that's some of the things I wanted to go over, a couple of books. If I think I've mentioned a few of these in prior shows, but we always have some new people with us each show. So if you're in a relationship that feels wrong or toxic, or you're feeling hurt or put down or criticized all the time, you might be in a verbally abusive relationship, and it can also, extend to a physical, it can be sexual, it can be all kinds of different ways that you might be abused, but this can help you empower yourself and hopefully heal or leave your situation. So it takes a lot of courage to do that. And you would know, right? Really standing up for yourself.
Exactly.
And sometimes you can be around toxic people, and oftentimes we might actually have toxic people in our family or friends that we think are friends, but really their negative energy is wearing you down so badly. So this can kind of help you get some advice on dealing with toxic people. But you can also Google this stuff. Google's an amazing resource. Just Google how to deal with negative people or toxic people. It'll give you you'll find articles and advice. You don't have to buy books anymore. But these are definitely helpful to have on hand if you want to just grab them and read them. And one thing that's really amazing for healing yourself and self-worth and empowerment is positive affirmations. Do y'all use those?
All the time.
I actually put quotes in my bathroom so I can think positive and tell myself positive things. Something that I really struggled with almost my whole life was feeling worthy, self-worth, like acceptance of myself. Even like I was super goody two-shoes golden girl for like most of my life, and then I was like suppressed because of my family situation. And then there was like a period of about 1.5 to 2 years where I like let my hair down and I went kind of like on the other side of the spectrum. And then the weird part that I had this realization about was I felt like I wasn't worthy, whether I was goody two-shoes golden girl or like party animal. Like I didn't feel good about myself either way. So it really comes from within. How you view yourself, how you feel about yourself, and empowering yourself. The happiness, the joy, the love, it all comes from within you, and it's about your perspective on things and how you react versus, if you react to something professionally or like, I don't know the right word I'm using right now, but I Declare is a great book for positive affirmations. I've used this a lot. It's great to just grab and open and look. It's by Joel Osteen. I guess I should say
My mom loves him, by the way.
Yeah, he's really good at a motivational speaker. I've been to his mega church. I think it's in Houston or something. I mean, it's gigantic. And then there's Lillian Glass, that was the author of Toxic People. And then Patricia Evans is the author of Verbally Abusive Relationship. And prayers that change things. I'm really an advocate of prayer, it doesn't really matter what you believe in, but just praying out to the universe can be very healing and therapeutic and like a conversation with the universe. So this can help. There was actually a prayer I wanted to share. I bookmarked it in here. It was about discouragement. It says, "Help me to be strong and of good courage and not to fear, for I know that you're with me. I know you will not fail me. I choose to wait on you and be of good courage, for I know that you will strengthen my heart. Through your grace I will be strong and I will be encouraged. I know you will make my way prosperous and give me good success. Thank you for replacing my discouragement with great encouragement through faith." And so it's just a way to help you think positive about your situation and really reprogram your mind. So also angel therapy oracle cards can help. The angels can kind of help guide you to things you need to heal directly within yourself and give you a good path to that. Magical Times Empowerment Cards by Jody Bergsma. These are really non-religious of any kind, but they're very empowering and awesome and like make you feel good about yourself. And I really like these and share them a lot with like clients that I do angel card readings with because it's pretty universal. Secrets About Life, Every Woman Should Know. I love this book. It's kind of big, but I've really torn it up and highlighted and marked it up because it's got so much good advice in there to help you look at life in a different positive light. I recommend everybody buy lavender essential oil because it's great for reducing stress and anxiety and pain and inflammation and can feel very healing. And I use it all day long sometimes. I'm just like, douse myself in it. But it helps if you have pain, like in something, carpal tunnel or whatever. And last one, Resurrecting Venus by Cynthia Ocelli. Really good with empowering the female in you. If you're a woman, kind of get back to that goddess spirit. So I will be actually hosting a healing meditation, a small group very soon, but I haven't set the date yet. But if you're interested in that, send me a message. It'll be in West Los Angeles very soon. And let's see, positive advice, I would say just do positive affirmations, think positive, tell yourself positive things, journal out your feelings, and hold crystals and rocks, like I always hold this one, just to feel balanced during my show. We're going to have a show about that. So when we come back from commercial, we're going to really talk to Erica about her story and get some enlightenment from her. So we'll be right back. Thanks.
Hold me in your heart. Tell us all your dreams.
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
T Radio V, radio in TV.
Radio in TV. You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
Hello and welcome back to the Street Angel Show on T Radio V here in the heart of Hollywood. So we're talking about finding confidence, self-worth, and healing from past abuse. And now we're going to be talking to my first guest, Erica Briones. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me here.
You're so welcome. I was really excited to meet her, and I'm so glad she can make it. So you have a story you'd like to share, and I'm so impressed with your courage to tell it, because it's pretty profound and a little heavy, but you've overcome. And so let's start where you'd like to start.
Okay, so first off, I want to say I would never have been on the show 6 months ago. I was terrified of public speaking, terrible anxiety. Actually, yesterday I got my blood test, and usually I faint, like clockwork, always faint.
From needles?
From needles, driving, talking to people, just always terrified, always in a state of panic. And yesterday was the first time I didn't faint.
Yay.
And so...
You're getting stronger.
I
It's
am
proof.
getting stronger. So it's all about the power of your mind and the practices, like you said, crystals and all the books that you read, it shows up. So my story is a little heavy, like you said before. So
I didn't know how else to word it. I was like, because I read your blog, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, so you share as much as you want or as little as you want. So
thank you. So the story is about in 1993, there was a Hurricane Andrew. And within that storm, I was going through sexual abuse. And there is so many cases, 1 million cases of women being raped. And even in the Middle East, there's so many women that they can't really speak up. They're in arranged marriages. I was watching Girls Rising, and that really inspired my story. And basically for about 5 to 7 years, every day I was being abused. I couldn't go outside. I never learned how to ride a bike. I was always crying. I was being bullied. And even later, I was in a lot of turbulent relationships, emotionally toxic, as you mentioned. And there was a point where I was drinking all the time.
to cope
To cope.
with the underlying.
Yes, and it's really interesting because I'm a dancer. I've been dancing for 10 years. I was dancing.
Yeah, we have pictures. I have a couple. So
I did so much. I went to church. I read books. I studied child and family development for 5.5 years. And nothing worked. So there was a moment where it's really interesting where you talk about prayer. As a little girl, there was a moment where everything shifted for me. I was about 10 years old, and I got on my knees, and I usually don't pray. And there was like this typical Mexican Jesus cross on the top of my room. Cliche Mexican.
I have one.
Yes. And I usually don't pray, but that day I prayed on my knees and I said, God, please take me away from this. Because for years I was with a stepdad that told me I was always going to be his possession. And it's really heavy to know that you feel like you're going to always be stuck in there.
Right.
And there's a quote by Carl Sagan that says, it's like a butterfly flapping its wings and thinking it's forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought for the longest time I was going to be abused every day. And I get a little emotional because I thought I was going to die. It was so painful, like that emotion is so heavy, you feel pain all over your body.
And just fear all the time,
Fear.
every day, like
All the
if
time.
if he was gonna prey on you or
Prey on me.
call you in. And so you got to a point somehow where you finally had enough and you said no more. No is a complete sentence.
Exactly. No is a complete sentence.
I love that from your blog. What is that
Yes.
from, Gabby?
Gabrielle Bernstein. So I have to say that a lot of my transformation is a cause of two amazing women. I mean, there's so many people that have mentored me, and like they say, you're the 5 people you surround yourself with. And so after all this like prayer and going through like drinking and bad dating, and I discovered meditation with Emily Fletcher. And I was like, meditation, oh my God, seriously. But there was this like feeling from my real dad, who's amazing. He was like a DJ and awesome. And I felt his presence. And I'm not usually mystical or into that stuff, but I was like, I think he's telling me to go. And I was like, okay, I'll check out the class. So Emily Fletcher, she teaches at Harvard and Google. And what actually got me is she taught Channing Tatum.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, well, Channing Tatum's hot, and well, he's a really good actor. But I was more drawn to the fact that it could really just shift your consciousness and inner peace.
Right.
Like, for example, I would always be in a state of panic right now, and in every situation. Low self-esteem, looking down, wouldn't look at your eyes, breathing, had asthma for about 8 years, always coughing, always tired, always sick.
Probably because your throat chakra was literally shut off because you couldn't speak for so long about what was happening to you. Now, the meditation you're talking about, is that the Ziva meditation?
Ziva meditation.
Can you elaborate what that means? I've never heard of it before.
Ziva, I'm not sure, but it's a Sanskrit name for key or wheel. Don't quote me on it. But basically, it's the way she talked about it, it's like a party. So you chant a mantra, for example, the word angel, in your meditation, your eyes are closed. And you can actually transcend. Usually in meditation, they're told you can't really think, don't think. And so people we have busy bodies, busy minds. So in this meditation, you can transcend into thinking about bad thoughts, good thoughts, because they will come to you. And so it's like a party. You have invited guests, uninvited guests, and you go back to your mantra. And that was one of the techniques that for the first month, I swear, best sleep of my life.
Nice.
And
finally at more peace.
More at peace and more energy, waking up. My health is improved. I'm here with you guys. You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
I'm super happy, and I just want to spread that message. That's just one of the techniques. And there's so many techniques we can use, like you mentioned, crystals and prayer. And I believe you do yoga.
Writing.
Writing.
I know you started a blog. I think we have some images of the blog that there was one in particular about overcoming the sexual abuse or abuse in general that it was a really good blog. So you want to talk about that at all?
Yes. It's really, really interesting. So I did this photo shoot, and I remember there was a moment where I was like, oh, I love these pictures. I was super egotistical. I'm like, oh, I like this one and this one.
Yeah, it was a good photo shoot. It was very
And
pretty.
eventually I started reading Gabrielle Bernstein's message, like, this work is not about you. It's not about your selfie. It's not about who likes your picture. It's not about the fame or the money. It's about the message that you're contributing. So I got on my knees that day, and I started writing it at first, like just crying, playing on really sad music. And I wrote it for about 4 or 5 hours. I woke up the next day, read it, and I deleted the whole thing. Then I started doing EFT, one of my other techniques. Started praying, and suddenly I felt this beautiful inner spirit that it felt like a bigger spirit than me that was writing through me. And so in that moment, it felt like it was me. People called me and said, wow, I've never read your stuff before.
Was that the blog on the sexual
Yeah.
abuse? That's the one I stumbled across. I
Yes.
don't even know how on earth. I think it was on Yahoo News, or it was somewhere.
Yeah.
I just stumbled across your article, and I was like, this is really good writing. And that's why I reached out to you, or I don't know how that happened, but we
Divinity.
connected. Yeah. So, and then, the fact that you ended up on here last minute, and so it was very healing, therapeutic for you to write it out, but then you also tapped into some higher consciousness that was coming through you to help others too, because you speaking your story can really help others, like, have awareness of what they're going through and work to change it, empower it.
Yeah.
So
I wanted to say that even though I'm here and have my makeup done, I'm wearing these like 4-inch heels and I feel sexy, this is something I would never have done or said years ago. I always said, oh, I look ugly. So now I'm super happy, and I really do love myself, and I want to share that message with other women.
you're like the lotus that came out of the mud. You're flowering, and you're opening up and really coming into your own power, your own goddess self, and that's a beautiful thing. And that's I appreciate you coming and sharing your story. What workshops are you working on?
Well, I'm retaking Gabrielle Bernstein's Spirit Junkie Masterclass Level 1. That's class like completely shifted that inner middle school girl. And when I did the EFT, it just completely just brought me back together, healing that.
And you do sexual coaching?
Yes. I used to have shame and guilt around sex, and disclaimer, I used to work at a dominatrix place for my family out there hearing. I'm not embarrassed anymore. I'm not embarrassed of who I am. There is power in that.
It almost like you switched roles in a way, right? So, any last words you'd like to others who are suffering out there, maybe in a situation?
So I just want to say that whoever watches this or comes across, just know you're not alone. There is ways to get help. There's ways to get solution. And also, if you do need guidance, just hit me up on sexysoulmatrix.com, and I will just be there and listen to you, because I've been there too. Because when you feel helpless, help someone is my message.
I love that. Thank you so much, Erica. All right, so we're going to go to commercial, and when we come back, we're going to dive into Koa Wood and really talk to him, and he's going to have a lot of cool stuff to say. So we'll be right back. Thank you.
With your secret ways, LA's
You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV. You are watching T Radio V, radio in TV.
LA's street angel, called to heal these streets, wipe away the dust.
Welcome back to the Street Angel Show on T Radio V. I love how the guys in the back were like dancing to my song. That was great. And I'm malting. Everywhere I go, it's like I leave feathers. I was at an event the other night, and I was walking around. I looked down. I malted a feather. I was like, why is this happening? Anyway, we're going to be talking now to Koa Wood. We've been discussing healing from past abuse of different kinds. And Koa is almost like a teacher and a healer, and he has a lot to say about this topic. And he's worked with women who have struggled with, hard pasts and sexual abuse. And so welcome, Koa. Thanks
thank you
for
very
being
much.
here. Introduce yourself. What would you like to say?
Yeah, so I think, to say I'm a teacher is fair. I teach Tantra, and that's a term that means so many things to so many people that it kind of needs to be defined. how I'm using it. So on the one hand, Tantra is often confused with just sexual practices and very much hedonistic, almost really a euphemism for promiscuity. On the far other end, it means meditation. To a lot of people, that's really their key into Tantra. So as you were talking about meditation.
I actually did Tantra too. I was teaching it too.
Oh, excellent. Yay. And so in the middle of that spectrum, you also have the use of sexual energy in the tantric way to provide healing space for people. And in so doing, you also increase intimacy and relationship. So that's kind of the thick middle where I spend most of my time. I've studied with a lot of people on the far meditation side as well. So I come at it from a bit larger perspective.
Right. You had said some kind of statistic about women and sexual abuse. Like you what was that?
Yeah, well, studies vary, but I think it's safe to say that 3 out of 5, and I think it's safe to say 4 out of 5 women have been sexually abused, and 3 out of 5 men have been sexually abused. That's just in America alone. And if you start including some of the Far East and Middle Eastern countries,
Right.
You can get pretty sad if you, Africa, it goes crazy. But even just in America, just if you focus on, that's a huge percentage. And you had mentioned something earlier about, your trauma maybe isn't as dark as other people's trauma. And in my experience, it doesn't really matter what it is. If it's stopping somebody from living a fully expressed life, then it's trauma.
Right.
And I've dealt with women who, created serious abandonment issues because when they were maybe 3 years old, they were in a stroller in a grocery store and they woke up and their mother wasn't there and it scared them. The mother may have just been turned around to grab a box of cereal,
Right.
but for that person, it began a chain of events which triggered abandonment.
And that's the key word, trigger. Like people who go through things in their past, you never know what could trigger something in their present. And depending on what you've been through, those triggers can bring on some severe emotional impact in your present day. And it's really working on fixing and healing those, just in the present, like whatever you have to do to turn that moment around. And, something can trigger you, but you can fix it somehow. Like, do you have any advice for that?
Yeah, let me put a little context to that. There's an author from, I guess he's Dutch, Bessel van de Kolk, and he's an amazing guy who wrote some books on trauma. He was leveraging the work that I think the VA Veterans Administration Hospital had done on post-traumatic stress disorder. And he really set the stage where he talked about trauma is a different kind of memory. So, like, I remember my first car, it was green. That's about all I remember about it, right? My second car was blue. It was a Firebird. I had great big tires on it. I had a lot more emotional connection to that car. So there's a lot more of me involved in that memory. Stepping further, I can remember an ex-girlfriend who really, really hurt me. And I can remember what she was wearing the day that all of the truth came out. And, sometimes even when I talk about it, my voice cracks a little bit. And there's a lot deep inside there. And, my stomach gets tight, my jaw gets clenched. Now I've got a lot more of me involved than I had with just the blue Firebird, right? And so we're working towards an understanding that some memories incorporate more of your body than others. And so in the case of a trauma, you might have an access. Whenever you get triggered or whenever something happens in your environment that brings you back into the memory of that trauma, it might take over all of your nervous system.
Right.
And so you see that with guys coming back from war.
Right.
When a loud noise goes off in the room next to them, they freak out, right? They hit the deck, they start screaming at their family, they don't know what's going on. They're reliving the moment that they were in that war situation, even though all visual and all auditory cues are, wait a minute, we're just hanging out at home,
Right.
right? So the way one approaches trauma release is going to be largely dictated by how much of one's system is overcome, but also where in the body the memory is being held. And that's a real key comment. So
Right.
when we talk about sexual abuse, so often that trauma is actually held in a woman inside her womb, right? So this could be everything from as simple as, her boyfriend came home feeling amorous one night. She didn't really feel like it, but she doesn't want to say no to him because she's afraid he won't love her anymore, so she says yes when she really didn't want to say yes. That can lead to trauma.
Right.
Or it can be as horrible as incestual rape,
Right.
pedophilic rape,
And it can,
Ritualized
like,
rape.
shut down your lower chakras, like your root
Yeah.
chakra, sacral chakra. It's like, I know that even with my abuse, it wasn't sexual, but I know that my lower chakras were just shut off. And as soon as I started taking healing and meditation classes, Kundalini, awakening, like, boom, it was like this massive energy rush that hit me. And I think I mentioned it on, like, my episode 4. I was like, I felt like a teenage boy. I was, like, overcome with this energy. And it's like I didn't know what to do with it because I, like, wasn't dating anybody. So it's like I ended up channeling it into the Angel Project.
Yay.
Growing that. So it's like,
Yeah.
what kind so how do you relate what, you talked about, like, what kind of healing work do you do with people and related to healing their traumas?
Yeah, so the main method I use for this, I learned from the Source School of Tantra Yoga.
Okay.
And I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end.
Yay.
But the method itself is one where you set a very, very strong spiritual container. There's a lot of prayer involved and a lot of intention set. And what I try to do is I try to clear myself so that I can be a channel for the person to feel safe, to feel heard, to feel cherished, so that her own internal body can begin the healing process, right? And that's, I kind of always step back at the term, I'm a healer, because, I mean, if somebody cuts their finger, as long as you keep it clean, the finger's going to heal itself, right? And it's true that we can help others. If somebody's having a bad day, I can say something that makes them feel better, but internally it's their hearing of what I said that makes them feel better. And so in the same way, when we talk about trauma release, what I try and do is I create a space that's safe and sacred that allows the person to go back into that memory, and especially in the sexual sense. I mean, it can be a sexual setting, and like we're actually going to do some tantric body work, but the main purpose is that that person feels completely safe. And like you had mentioned, that because of your relationship to your dad, you had some daddy issues for a while. That's super common. And
Right.
it doesn't have to be the physical father or the stepfather, as in your case. It can be an uncle, or it can
right.
be
Anybody.
anyone, really.
A lot of women are raped by acquaintances, like in college and stuff like that. So, that causes trauma.
For sure.
And one of my guy friends, his girlfriend that he got with, like, she had been raped by a stranger after a party. And so when they got together, started dating, sometimes he would do things that he didn't mean to, but it would trigger her. And she would go into, like, memory, and she'd freak out. And so he had to learn to kind of, like, deal with her triggers and not do certain actions that would trigger her memories.
That's one of the things in the Source School that comes across so beautifully in the training, is how to hold space for somebody when they do get triggered. So, like, let's just say you're in a situation where you're with a lover, and maybe there's some manual stimulation of the genitals. And it's very, very common for women to be cut off from the sensations of their womb due to these emotional or more physical intrusions.
And there's shame and guilt.
For sure, that plays a part of it.
It's a
But
very
on
low
a
vibration.
It
Yeah.
is. And on a more neurophysiological level, it could also include neural pathways that have been blocked, so that the stimulation inside the yoni, or that's the Sanskrit word for womb, the physical stimulation, which would normally in a healthy person shoot pleasure signals up to the brain,
Right.
might get caught by that shame or guilt or other trauma. And then the woman doesn't even know it. I've worked with women who've had orgasms and they aren't even aware of it. Like
Wow.
their muscles contract almost to the point of breaking a hand strong,
Right.
lots of fluid, and they're like, what just happened?
I didn't feel it, or it could disconnect.
Right.
Well, I know Koa did some healing work on me. It wasn't sexual in nature, but he did some clearing of my chakras and along my back, all the way up to my crown. And when he was done, I was like, wow, it felt really incredible. In fact, I had to go take a nap afterwards because it's like my body had to reprogram itself to whatever healing he had interjected into my chakras. We have 1 minute left. I know we don't feel like we don't have enough time with this thing, but there's an upcoming Tantra workshop.
Yeah, March 4th through 6th.
I'm going to be there.
Yay. There's Charles Muir, who's the guy who started Tantra in the West, really. I think a lot of people could argue that. He started the Source School of Tantra Yoga. He will be in Los Angeles, in Santa Monica. If you go to my website, which is tantra-arts.com, and click on the schedule button, you can see there's 3 or 4 meetups that give a 2-hour intro, and then there's the whole weekend. So there's links for all that.
Cool. I'd like to thank you guys for being on the show today and sharing your love, light, positivity. Next week, be sure to tune in. We're going to actually talk about healing and balancing, grounding with crystals and stones and rocks. We're going to have amazing guests to really train you on which crystals could be great. Welcome back. Apparently, we have another segment that I wasn't aware of. So
Yay.
I thought we were going to have
Yeah.
3 segments, and it's actually 4 today. So we're going to have a freestyle conversation on sex and healing. And so that's kind of what we decided over the commercial. So Erica's got some stuff to say about, like, there was a time after her abuse that she actually didn't enjoy sex. So let's hear your story about that.
So, sex is obviously a wonderful thing, and for me, for years, it was more of a, how can I make this guy happy so I can eventually get married one day? But then I think about that sex is way more than just procreation and making someone happy. You have to have that blissgasm, that mindgasm within yourself. And that starts with peace of mind. And there's a part that you mentioned where the girl just shuts down, she goes into a different neural pathway, and she's not present. For me, when I was sexually traumatized, I was literally like triggered by everything. I couldn't really relax. I was just like, I literally went to Disneyland in my head. And it shouldn't be like that. You should really enjoy all the sensations, the smell, the touch,
Right.
the breath.
And some people might not even be aware that they have an issue around it until someone actually makes them aware of it. And the reason I say that is I had issues with intimacy in terms of being verbal about what worked for me, or like even like making noises. I was kind of very silent until one time I had a lover who said, you don't really say anything. Like, I don't know what to do if you're not like telling me what to do. And so that was like an awakening for me, and I very much appreciate him saying that to me, because then it made me aware that maybe I need to have a conversation with a partner about what to do and not do to make me feel good, because like they're not going to be able to read my mind. Maybe they, everyone's different and has different likes and touches and whatever that works for them, but unless you tell your partner, they're not going to know. So speak up.
Well, that's true. And it goes beyond just verbal feedback in the act of making love. I mean, if you're being quiet, that means you're shutting down your throat chakra,
Exactly.
which means those pleasure signals can't get past it.
Right.
So how do you keep something from escaping? You close it down, right? You tighten down on it, right? So how do you allow orgasm to occur? Is you relax, you surrender, you let it flow through your whole body. So those two concepts are at opposite ends. And then we had also mentioned earlier about mantras, the Sanskrit words that when you go back to that Zen meditation, that particular term felt really great for you when you're singing it, right? Well, that's the whole concept of the Sanskrit language, is to sing a chant that vibrates your body in such a way that you can feel into every part of your body. And if you're used to having that practice and you find a part of your body that isn't responding, then that's an early warning sign. Hey, I've got a little something I need to exercise out, right? And ultimately, then when you come back to the concept of sex, the more of your body that's open, the more of your neural pathways that are connected, like the stimulation in the genital or any other erogenous zone that goes up to the brain, if it makes it all the way up there, then it can jump across to other neurons that go, hey, I want more of that, and you get this cybernetic loop going, and that's how you get this. People hear tantric sex all the time, and people usually associate that with being something off the charts and really crazy, and
There's all different kinds of tantra.
Well, yeah, but the reason why it has that reputation is because when you've done this practice long enough, you get open enough to where you can actually feel your entire body vibrating with the orgasm. It's not isolated to a specific body part, and now it permeates your entire being. And the deeper and deeper you get to it, now you start getting into that place where your energy, which is outside of your body, is merging with the energy of your lover, and now both of you guys create a cybernetic loop, and that's when you start reaching the higher levels, and then in comes the term
Right.
sacred sexuality.
And it also depends on the partner you're with. I mean, for me, I extremely appreciate a very patient, loving, affectionate partner, someone who makes me feel comfortable. Because if you're with someone who's rushing you or just seriously doesn't give a crap about your pleasure,
Or doesn't have the skill to last long enough.
or that, that's a serious problem, unfortunately. And sometimes it's not really the guy's fault, but
No,
maybe they have issues.
most guys still have sex the way they learned about sex, which is when they were 13 years old.
Or porno.
Exactly.
Porn.
Or behind a closed door, get it over quick before the parents come in and catch you, right? So the inset mentality is sex should be fast, whereas
Like instant gratification, like drive in and out.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wanted to add that one of the best tools I learned, because I went to Intimacy Fest, and I had this friend, Reed Mihalko, and his whole thing is Sex Geek. And he teaches the safe sex elevator speech, which has taught me so much about sex, which you talk about your likes, your dislikes right in the beginning. Communication is key, so you don't have the hamsters, the thought forms in the back of your mind when you're having sex, because if you're having sex and you're like, oh my God, he should do this, I want him to do this, and you don't say it. So the way it works is you say, I want to talk about like everything from STDs to condoms, no condoms. Are we open? Are we primary? And
You mean exclusive?
Exclusive. Like,
with-
where's this going? Is this just playful? Just say your intentions right off the bat. What are my boundaries? What are my no's? What are my yeses? And then as soon as you do that, you can really go full out and really like let loose and control. Like you set the parameters for the playground. So that way when you're there in action, you really feel yourself. You're not like hiding anything, because that's going to show up in your tension and the way you want to let go with your orgasm. And so that has helped me so much, that little safe sex elevator speech.
it's really
Yeah.
true. And what that does is it establishes a level of trust between you and your lover. And trust is such a fundamental piece to intimacy. And that's, like you were talking earlier, Mandy, about your relationship to your dad. And even though it wasn't sexual abuse, it still affected your ability to trust men. And that's why you called in men who are not trustworthy, who didn't know how to cherish you. So, one of the key teachings in the Source School of Tantra that we'll be talking about this coming weekend is how do you establish that trust, and what does it mean to hold space for somebody no matter what they're going through. Like the initial conversation, this is what the boundaries are for what we're going to be doing, but then also holding to it when you're actually in the act. And that can be really, takes a lot of practice.
It takes a lot of healing work, and you have to take that initiative for yourself. Like go to classes, do meditations on YouTube. But that's something I've actually been doing a lot more of. Almost every day I've been doing a little bit of meditation, and I'll find one on YouTube, and I'm getting to healing myself, and especially my heart. My heart has really got some blockages to it because of past heartbreak and trauma and feeling hurt by people and just being so confused, not understanding like why I was left, or like when, and so it's like I have literally like lumps and blockages in my heart chakra, and then the different nerve endings that relate to the heart. Like even in my face reflexology, like the areas that relate to the heart have lumps on them, and I just recently found, and so it's like I'm working on it.
Yeah, that's beautiful that you have that recognition. And just as we were talking earlier about the throat chakra being closed down, the heart chakra is the main way a woman projects her love into the world, right? And so, in a healing session, what we would do in this work is we would establish a safe space. We would work on the sexual energy to come up almost like a laser to pierce through the heart, so that it can melt away some of those blockages. And ultimately, the goal is when that's fully clear, sex, we were talking earlier about being an in and out, very quick, friction-based thing. Ultimately, you want sex to be a meditation. So take all this great stuff that you're doing about meditation in your solo practice, and then when you find a lover who is capable of holding that same level of intentionality in the act of love, and it becomes a meditation, especially when you have the skills to make it last for hours on end, spend all Sunday day in an act of lovemaking meditation, and that'll open your heart.
Someday. That'd be great.
Well, if anybody wants to talk about that kind of thing, I'd also do private work. I also do counseling. So
How do people reach you? Your website?
Yeah, tantra-arts.com.
Yeah, reach out to Koa for advice. He can give really great healing advice. And how can people reach you?
Go to sexysoulmatrix.com.
Okay.
You could also find me on Snapchat the same way, and Instagram, social media. And for me, I just feel so much joy when people reach out to me, and I'm with all these strong women that are broken down, and I would teach them EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping, breathing, just like little pieces of homework, because I don't want them to feel pain. And when you've experienced that, you want everyone to experience that healing. Everyone has different approaches, so I'm excited to.
I feel very blessed that I had you two on the show. I think it went perfectly for the topic, and you know that we can kind of bounce off each other and share, like, you know, with others, like what's going on, like what, take the layers off the illusion, and you know, people are hurting and suffering on the inside no matter what they're projecting on their Facebook and their Instagram. Like there's, you know, you might feel damaged, and it's about fixing and healing and mending and clearing, and so that's what this show is about, you know, like shedding light on some stuff and helping and healing others. So thank you guys.
Thank
And
you.
great show today. Make sure you tune in next week, 1 o'clock, for some more awesomeness. So thank you.
LA Street Angel.
You are watching T Radio V, Radio and TV.